Okay, family, we're back. Today we are looking at a very interesting sign in the Mazzaroth, and we'll get to all the details on what happened to me over the last couple of months. I've been down for a long time, and we're just getting back into a place where I can do these video breakdowns, and I wanted to share something that I have noticed um, about this comet. And the first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to go to some scripture. This is Revelation 20 and 2. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven with the key to the abyss, holding in his hand a great chain. He seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. And he threw him into the abyss, shut it, sealed it over him, so that he could not deceive the nations until the 1,000 years were complete. Again, that was Revelation 20 and 2. And I believe I have found this sign in the Mazzaroth. Again, a lot of people who don't study this star language on the regular, they have a problem understanding some key facts about the Mazzaroth. First, we have to understand that this is a representation of the above. We are the below, and when there's a manifestation, typically in the above, it takes time for that to translate to the below. It's not normally an exact timing, although there are times when these signs are almost immediate. And we can see that with the birth of Christ and the signs that the wise men received when they were doing their visual reports on the signs in the heavens. So what we're seeing here is this comet C2023A3 Suchinshan Atlas, and it makes a very, very interesting path. And I also tracked it back and saw something that, to me, having done this type of research for a very long time, I don't believe that one thing in the heavens is by chance or a mistake. I believe that it's all a part of the script, and all these things that manifest in the heavens are actually all perfectly timed for being able to read the stars. But we're this is a lost language, and it's very difficult to bring back these lost languages and lost ideas, and we're going to do our best with what has been shown to me and see if we can make as much sense of this as possible, because there's a lot here just in this one sign, and I'm just getting going. We're going to backtrack and catch up with a lot of the stuff that I missed, and and then we're going to move forward. But we're going to start here with this sign because I think it is tied to what we're going through right now and what's about to happen. But we have a sign with this Atlas comet, and it speaks very loud, and so I wanted to share it with everybody, and hopefully we can get some people weighing in on what they see in this sign, because there is a lot here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at where this was before this time. Here on September the 1st, which is just coming up in days, we see the Sun and Comet Shinshan Atlas aligning with sextants and Leo, and it's also making excuse me, it's making a path directly through Hydra, and that's part of the sign that I received when I saw this. And then I went and I tracked back this comet to see what other language it was speaking, where it's been, where it's going, and a lot of that path of these comets and asteroids, it is essentially telling a story itself. So here we see this Atlas comet aligning with the Sun, and it is about to line up directly. Let's look here really quick so I can show you here. Okay, so here we see the constellation Sextans. And this constellation, if you aren't familiar with what a sextant is, it is a navigational tool. It was used for understanding direction. It was used to navigate, and it was also used for being able to justify where, if you were on a ship or if you were traveling long distances, you could use this tool to justify exactly where your course should be. And that is exactly what we're looking at with this comet. Is its course has led me to see a sign in the heavens, and I believe the sign is Revelation 20 and 2 with the binding of the serpent. And so let's go back to Stellarium, and let's go back in time and watch this comet and where it goes before it gets to this point coming up here on September the 1st. So I'm going to go ahead and go back by the months, so you can watch the direction that this comet is taking. Okay, so if we do this by the months, you'll see that it's been making this loop, and it went through, let's go ahead and go forward, and just so you can see, okay, it's making these loops, and So it starts there, and what was very interesting to me is that it essentially stayed in Virgo for the majority of this time that it was moving quickly. As soon as it got beneath the feet of Virgo, which is where that moon sign on Revelation uh, 12 was back in 2017, we see this comet start to make its movements back and forth. And if you look at the comet's movement, if you have a stellarium and you can go on your own computer, you can run this yourself, you'll see that this is making small loops, and that's going to come into play when we discuss what it happens at when it meets up with serpents. So let's keep going. Okay, we can see how it's just making these small loops, small loops, small loops, and it just keeps on going towards serpents. And in 2013, let's go ahead and go in really close. I believe it's 2013. We'll just call it here. It makes its alignment with serpents. It's between 2012 and 2013, because we can go back and we can see how this is making its loops right there over serpents. And if we keep going back and we keep going back, this looks to me as though this comet is binding the serpent. It is tying a noose around its neck. And we can keep going back further, and then it moves away from the actual images that we have here of serpents, and it moves between Ophiuchus and serpents. But it stays there, and it doesn't do anything until the 90s that we see here. And then once it passes the 90s, then it starts to move away from the serpent. And you'll see that it's moving slightly away from the serpent. But in the 90s, we're going to go ahead and go forward again just so you can see this. So we have this in the 90s. Now all of a sudden, this comet is in the area where we see the image of the serpent, and it looks to be doing circles around its neck, over and over and over and over, until a certain point where it makes its move. And we're going to see that in a second, and it's going to start now moving away from the serpent, and it's going to be moving towards Virgo. So now it's into Virgo, and you can see how let's just do this by the days, and then we can watch this. Watch this movement. Now, here we see on May the 13th, we see that let's April the 26th to May the 13th. The comet is in the womb section of Virgo, but if we go back before, there are no loops until right before Libra. See how it stops? And then we start to come back. And if you do it by the months, then you'll see the loops. There's the loop, 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 loop. Okay, so we have this serpent being bound by this comet, and it's showing us a binding. And then as it moves forward, it starts to move towards Virgo. And we find ourselves today on its way to sextants. And it literally aligns with the navigation point of sextants. And when I saw that, it made me realize that this sign is direction. This is a sign of where things are going and what this is all about. So this is all about redemption and the binding of the serpent for 1,000 years. And ultimately what we're all looking for is this redemption from the corruption. And so this is the sign of Revelation 20 and 2. And what it does is it allows us to see that these comets and asteroids are playing out a grand story in the heavens. There's no reason for that comet to make that type of a movement unless it's for us to be able to see these things and come to a conclusion of what we're seeing. So let's go ahead and go back, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you where this comet, again, remember it went through the womb. It went through the womb of Virgo, and now it's entering into sextants, and it's going to align with the navigational point of the sextant. And if you go do a deep dive on sextants and what they're used for, you'll find some amazing things. I went and spent a little bit of time trying to find some deeper Mazzaroth information, but there's not a lot out there. And so I think it's best to go and do some more research on Hydra and Leo, and that also helps to understand what we're looking at here, because the sextant is directly between Leo and Hydra, and we've always had a story of the conquering lion and the dragon, or the snake. It's really a dragon that we're looking at. The serpent, it can be a dragon also. And so this is really a dividing line more than just a navigational thing, because this is dividing um, the above from below. And you can even see this, how the light is on the ecliptic, and a Hydra is below. And if you do some research on Hydra and the sign of Hydra, um, there's a lot to be learned just within that sign. Um, we will hopefully be able to get to another video, because I have some really deep information on Hydra, and it's another one of those videos that would help explain this even more, but there's just hours there just in Hydra. So let's just leave it for you to go do a deep dive into Hydra and Leo. There's some great internet information on all this Mazzaroth stuff now, for anybody to go and do some deep research. I would definitely look at multiple websites and read as much information as you can from different authors, because a lot of people who study Mazzaroth get caught into the modern astrological information, and there's a lot more ancient information that is a lot different than the modern astrological information. So it's important to get as much varying information as possible, and don't just take information at face value. Keep doing as much research as you can. It's going to be important when it comes to being able to decipher these signs. So what we're looking at here, after this time that we're in now, we'll go ahead and do it by the days, and then that way you can see what I was seeing. So we have this comet Suchinshan. It aligns. Let's scroll in closer, and you can see how I believe it's even like on 9/11. Yeah, on 9/11, it makes its alignment with this this navigational point on the sextant, and I'm going to scroll back so you can see this path as it goes forward. And then as soon as it does that, it makes a beeline. I mean, really quick. Let's go ahead and back up a little bit to that 9/11 point, and then let's move forward, and you can see that. We can scroll in a little closer. You can see how fast this makes a beeline back to Virgo. Okay, so if you remember, it came from Serpens and Ophiuchus, which is unto itself. I believe that what we were seeing there through the late 80s into the early 2000s is the sign of the binding. And then rapidly in 2023, it made its move into Virgo. And for many of you who have been following this channel, you know that in 2023, we were looking at all the signs in Virgo. And so now what we're looking at is this comet making a beeline right back to the place where it was before. And normally when that happens, it raises my eyebrows. And we can see here on 10/8, it enters back into the womb. Here we are in the womb of Virgo, which is this section here. Spica would be the exit point of the birth, and then Parima would be the entrance of the womb. So we'll call this whole section the womb section of Virgo. And if you remember the 2017 Revelation 12 sign, we were looking at Jupiter doing loops inside of this section of Virgo. And it matched with the human gestation time. And that's how we know that it was assigned to us of a birthing. And we're also looking at these signs in a way of us being reborn. And so if that's going to take place, then we're going to see birth signs. And so when we get back to this point of this Comet Atlas being back in the womb, we see some very interesting things. Number one, we see Venus is now in Libra. And for those of you who have done your Mazzaroth studies, the ancient sign of Libra was an altar. And Venus can be looked at as the feminine or the bride, and the bride is at the altar. And we see here that the sun is illuminating the constellation of Virgo, because it's directly in the middle of the constellation, in basically lighting up the womb section. As this comet goes back through, we also see Mercury, which is the messenger. So we can see this as a message, and we can see that this comet is making a sign to us. So now we're going to go, and it's only in there for 3 days. And then it makes a beeline back for serpents. And from there, we're going to go into another video and discuss those signs. There's more to the story, but it's going to drag on into a very long video. And I'm trying to keep this a little bit shorter, sweeter, and to the point. One of the things that we see here is, let's go ahead and looking closer. I believe, yeah, so let's get this back. Okay, so alright, now we're going to go in a little closer and just nail it. Make sure that we're on track here. So that looks like about it. Now we have an alignment back with serpents. And we see that the sun is directly over Spica on these 2 days. So we have the 16th is when it aligns, and the 17th is when it exits. Okay, so we have the 15th is where it's just about to start to exit. There's the alignment, and then we have the exit. And on that day, we see this comet aligned with serpents. And when I saw this sign on the 17th, it really made things stand out for me, because the ancient Mazzaroth New Year is going to be on the 20th. And we have a 3-day period between this sign and the New Year, based on the ancient count, pre-Exodus. And it's to me, this is huge for us to see that this comet is essentially showing us 3 signs. The first sign was the Revelation 20 and 2, the binding of the serpent. But then it goes and it moves through the womb once. It goes and points directly to the sexton, which is a direction. It can also be a navigational tool for other things. And so for us, this is showing us the way. And this process is a birthing process. So we have this comet binding the serpent, entering into the womb, going to the navigation point, and then going back into the womb, and then back to the serpent, as if it's sowing a seed of redemption for what has happened to this woman and what came through this woman. The sign that I saw was the binding of the serpent, coming back once, going through the womb, back to the way, and then back into the womb, as if there had to be a rectification for something that had gone long in the past. We're talking about in ancient times. We all know the stories. You can take for it what you will, but these stories go back into ancient times, and they're told to us in this Mazzaroth. So what I'm seeing is this binding of the serpent is being shown to us right now at this time, because it wasn't. Let's do this one more time. Let's go back by the months. Okay, so excuse me while I get back over here. So what we're looking at here is the very end of 2023. We're looking at another sign here because this Comet Atlas is aligning with Venus, and we all know that Venus is the morning star. When it is the morning star, because Venus can be an evening star also. So we see that this comet, before this time, let's center on this comet. I think it's, yeah, so we're looking at late or early 2022 is when it first starts coming into the constellation of Virgo. So 2022, 2023, and 2024, it's showing us the signs in Virgo. And then it makes a beeline back to Serpents in late 2024. And then here, later, we'll show you that it goes through Aquila. But that we're going to make that a different video. We're talking about the end of the Serpent sign. I think it's, yeah, we already have it here, 10/17, and then it's gone. And we also see a 153 sign here on 10/17 with this alignment. And then it exits the Serpent. And so, to me, we're looking at Revelation 20 and 2 with the binding of the serpent, and the end of this binding of the serpent sign culminating on October the 17th, 2024.